Today, we're going to talk about something that is so important for us women. And being in my 40s, I've come to realize things that friendships are really hard to make when you're an adult. If you can relate to this video is for you. It's so weird because when we were younger, we were surrounded by coworkers and classmates and people that just came up to us at the playground and played with us. And that was all fun. And I know that doesn't seem to be the same kind of friendships because as we get older, we start to really have this need for deeper meaning and connection in friendships. And as we get older, it's either we're lonely because we don't have friends anymore, or we have a very small circle of friends. I am a wedding photographer as well, and I have seen so many different dynamics of, brides with their bridal party and their in their 20s and they have big, big circles of friends. And I wonder, how come I don't have that? And I used to have that. Where did that go? Well, I'm going to tell you why this happens, and I'm going to tell you how you can make meaningful friendships starting today. But before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to this channel if it resonated with you. I would love to align myself with deep, meaningful conversations with women like yourself. So as adults, life gets more complicated, right? We have responsibilities, roles, bills to pay. Some of us have kids, so it becomes very complicated with these filled up calendars and things that we need to do or prioritize over friendships. But I'll tell you right now, friendship is something that I would take over a romantic relationship any day. Why? Because that is something that carries us through hard moments if they happen. That is something that carries us through, moments of like, I need someone to really understand who I am in this moment. And those friendships are the ones that keep you going in the end. And as a child, I had a lot of friends, but I started to grow out of having those superficial friends. And I started to see that my life was not meaningful around that. Like my wins didn't feel like their wins. And so I started to reject them in a way because I didn't want them to reject me. I didn't want to feel like, I wasn't good enough. So I would leave friends. I wouldn't make friends easily because of rejection, because I was scared of getting too close and vulnerable to somebody and they just wouldn't see me. And I was often feeling like I was small around certain people. If you can relate to this, you have certain friends that maybe have bigger personalities or they have more, popularity among friends. And so I would always shrink myself around these people. And then I would say, well, I'm suppressing my own voice. I'm not able to be my authentic self around these people. And so as I got older, I started to push away people in fear of that. And that's a trigger for me. It might be for you as well. But then in some cases, it's like some of us want to make friends, but we just don't know how. And 10 years ago, I met my best friend today, and both of us had the same feeling of not wanting to get close to people. And we happened to get pregnant at the same exact time. We were working in the same building and we found something in common and we started to talk, but we didn't really understand what was happening. It was more like an acquaintance type of relationship until we started getting deeper and deeper in conversation. And it's almost like the universe pulled us together and said, girls, you're ready to be yourselves. You're ready to embrace someone else in your life right now. And we are best friends to this day. Like we're soul sisters. In fact, we call ourselves soul sisters. We have a podcast called the Hey Soul Sister podcast, and you can catch it on Spotify. And we are cut from the same cloth. We've been through life experiences that have taught us something incredibly powerful, that we both want to help women. We both want to do the same thing in life. We both love immensely, but we only trust when that trust is earned. And that's how our friendship was built. It was built on loyalty and trust. And even though we're 10 years apart, you would think that we're the same age because she's 35, I'm 45. She had a baby at 17 and I had my babies later, but both of us have had that life experience that have made us sort of emotionally mature on that same level. So if you can find a friend like that without looking, but recognizing who it is for you in those moments, you will see that there are so many people out there that will get you. There are so many women that understand where you are at, despite their background, despite their age, and we're all searching for connection. we weren't hardwired as humans to be alone. None of us were. And great, it's great to have alone time. I love my alone time. But every now and then I want to pick up the phone and I want to call my best friend and say, I'm having a hard day or this happened. And maybe I don't want to confide in my husband with certain things. And that's okay. I think having someone who doesn't judge you, who has your back 100%, who celebrates your wins, who will talk for hours and it feels like, only a few minutes. Those are the types of friends that we all want. And I don't need to have a big circle in my life to feel fulfilled in a friendship. And I love talking to people. I'm a social butterfly. I can make friends easily, but I don't call them friends. I call them acquaintances. Friendship is totally different from just knowing people and having social conversations with them. So I'm going to tell you the reasons why it's so hard to make friends as an adult. So a big thing is we reject those friends, right? As I was saying, it's that fear of being seen. It's that fear of being vulnerable with someone. It's fear of letting that wall down that we've built up to protect us our whole lives from people that have hurt us. And so that fear of being seen is one reason why we energetically repel people. And we do it subconsciously. We don't do it consciously. And so in your subconscious mind, if you look at your triggers, if you look at your childhood, there are reasons why you push these people away, and you're not recognizing that you're doing that, but you are doing it through your energy. You're doing it through your action. You're doing it through the way you talk, the way you stand. Many of us also feel like we are burdening someone else. Like if we say, let's go out, we're burdening them at this age because they have a life of their own. They might have kids of their own. They might have, the soccer, sports, and the nights of full calendars to do with their family. But I think at the end of the day, like, even if women say that their family is everything, they're still craving that friendship. They're still craving something. They're still lonely in some parts of their lives. Friendship is like a blessing in our lives. Friendship is something that moves us to our next level. If we have the right kind of friend, a great friend, you're going to be so much more motivated to make the next move because you have somebody cheering you on at the end of the day who has no ulterior motives, no jealousy vibes, no like bitchy vibes. When I was younger, there were so many girls who were always judgmental and, there was always this cattiness about women and girls. And I think now as an adult, I'm recognizing that not everyone's like that. And now we're growing, we're evolving into mothers and wives and women that want to be seen and respected by people. And we're seeing the value of friendship. And even though it's scary to be vulnerable with people, I think it's so important that we let our walls down. And if we get hurt, we get hurt. But at the end of the day, I would rather get hurt than not have a friend that truly sees who I am. And we're not looking at friendship the same way anymore, right? We're looking at more in-depth conversations, more connection, less superficial less superficial chats. It's more intention. It's more willingness to show up as we are. Real friends do not require a filtered version of you. You get to be who you are with somebody. And how you do that is by just removing all the masks. Just letting all the layers fall. Understanding that if someone is meant to be your friend and see all parts of you, you're giving them permission to unmask themselves. You're giving them permission to release all the walls and be vulnerable with you. And that is the most beautiful gift, is to have someone who trusts you enough to shed all of their deepest, darkest secrets with you. Even if it makes you feel weird or uncomfortable at first, it's like you have to ask yourself, why are they telling me this? And the obvious answer is because they trust you. But you want to make sure that you're recognizing the friends that have this equilibrium with you, like this reciprocity versus this like take. And a lot of us have gone through those friendships where it's all about them. They talk over you and you just, you've had enough of that. It's draining your energy. And so I choose to walk away from certain friendships because I recognize now that that's not what friendship is, because I've seen what real friendship is. Surface level conversations make us starve for more, right? It's like you just want more deep conversations the older we get. I feel like we're just going through like this identity shift as we get older too. And so we're looking to align ourselves with people that are growing with us and evolving alongside us because they're in the same phase of their lives. When we were younger, we didn't have those deep conversations as much. It was very much superficial. It was very much about, what we're wearing or what we're doing in our lives to be successful and maybe the hustle. And, it was less about like what's really deep beneath the surface of who we are. And now true friendship is like someone who just really listens to you and allows you to speak and vice versa. I've had to really learn to lean on my best friend. I've had to ask her for help because knowing that my whole life I thought, well, I don't want to burden someone if I'm in need or I need help. I've always found it easy to call her up and say, hey, I need some help. And we want that. As women, as humans, we want to be able to say, hey, I need help with something. I don't want to feel so lonely. Now, how do you create these connections? How do you find your friends, your true friends? First, you want to be clear on what kind of friendship you desire. Is it just someone to hang out with for a coffee date once in a while because you're, bored? Or is it someone that you really want to build on a meaningful connection that lasts forever? I would be super picky here. And I know that's not the right thing to say. It might be controversial, but I am super picky with my friends because the minute I see one red flag, I'm out. I'm out. When you're super clear on the type of connection you want to make, that is when you become more magnetic to finding people who are attracted to your energy. And immediately you see people drawn to you because you're striking up conversations with them. And deep down, they're needing that connection as well. And there's a powerful dynamic there. But you have to be willing to just like release all of those fears of being seen, tear down those walls and have real meaningful conversations. Not just, hey, like, how's the weather? A way you could do this too is say, hey, do you want to go for coffee? You go first. I've messaged so many women that I've met and I really love their energy. And I say, hey, do you want to go for coffee? And yeah, we go for coffee. Have we made it to that deep soulful level? No, but maybe I didn't allow it to happen. And maybe I'm okay with just having the one friend. But I'm starting to realize that I don't mind having more friends as long as they're meaningful friendships, as long as I'm not wasting my time on that coffee date and I'm drained at the end of it. If I find someone that I truly get along with, I'm going to text them and say, hey, let's go for dinner. Let's go for coffee. If they reject me, I have to be okay with that. And I'm okay with that. I think the older I'm getting, I'm realizing what's meant for me is meant for me. Who's meant for me is meant for me. And not everyone is meant for us. Is it scary to reach out to people first? Sure, it is, because we've constantly been afraid of rejection. And I really want to say this because if you're going to, go to friend circles or you're going to go to retreats or you're going to go to women's networking events and make friends and you're going to reach out to them, don't go into a date saying that I'm going to just sit there and listen to the whole conversation and be agreeable with everything. You need to be yourself. Don't change any part of you. Sure, yes, you have to listen, but I think it's a mutual kind of back and forth conversation. Don't be afraid to be disliked, is what I'm saying. Like, if you are who you are and they don't like you, that's okay. You've done your part. You are who you are. But don't change yourself or mold yourself to be liked by anyone else, because at the end of the day, then your energies aren't meant to be aligned. If you don't have much in common with each other, then it's not going to work. That dynamic has to feel natural. It has to flow. It has to feel like zero effort. Because I remember when me and my best friend knew we were best friends and we were a little wasted, we were a little drunk. We went out and I was like, you know what? I think you're my best friend. And she was like, yeah, I think so too. It was such a cute moment. I think I treated it like a relationship. I treated it like a boyfriend, girlfriend, my husband relationship because I really value people in my life that I spend with. And if I'm not going to, be spending it with my kids and I'm going to be spending it with my friends, it better be worth it. So I really want to encourage you to just, be a kid again. Start asking people out, start joining groups, even put on your own event. I'm actually putting on a women's event in September that I'm super, super excited about because I get to meet a lot of women and I'm no longer afraid to. And I think I was always afraid of judgment. I was always afraid of what will they think of me, you know? And I started to back away from people the minute I would get close to people or they would ask me, I would say no. And that fear has stopped me from really, trusting people and getting to know people as humans because not everyone's out to get us, right? I remember moving to Canada 20 years ago and it was so weird because everyone in our neighborhood was so nice and I asked this question. It was so weird because I wasn't used to it. I was like, why are they so nice to me? And I guess that's just how some people are. They're just nice. So use your spidey senses, right? Your spidey senses are your intuition. That's the thing you need to trust in yourself is like who's right for you, who's not for you, and move on if they're not. But embrace the ones that do embrace you back and say, yeah, why not? Let's just go out. Let's just, have a really nice night and like connect with each other and see what we have in common and go from there. No expectations. You don't have to be best friends forever. But if you do turn out to be best friends forever, I promise you, it is the most rewarding thing in the world. I could not imagine my life without my best friend. She is my soul sister. She is my adventure buddy. Our sons who were born at the same time, 9 days apart, they're best friends. And we are family. That is what you want. You want a friend that is your family. You don't need 50 friends. You don't need, a big circle of women to understand you. You just need one friend. And as an adult, it is so much more satisfying to have that time spent with somebody that can be themselves around you no matter what, that celebrates your wins when you don't, that sees your potential when you don't see it, and someone who don't need to perform around. You don't need to wear a mask around. So just start getting out there. Start seeing where the women are hanging out. Start, maybe there was somebody that invited you for coffee like 2 months ago and you said no. Just go. Just go. Like, no expectations. Just go into it with the intention of having a really solid, in-depth conversation. Remove the walls. Get vulnerable. Be yourself. No more masks. Because it gets harder as we get older to make friends. But you know what? We have so much time still ahead of us. And I'd rather walk this path with people that want to walk it with me, And there's nothing more rewarding than an amazing friendship. All right, friends. Now, go on out. Make some friends. Don't be stuck in this lonely phase any longer. It's not that hard to make friends, I promise you. If you are just open and yourself and you ask people out, you will make friends, I promise. I'll see you next time. Bye.